Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review The Order, and this is a new crime thriller coming your way from director Justin Kurzel, who previously did the Macbeth film with Michael Fassbender, which I loved, and Assassin's Creed with Michael Fassbender, which I did not. And this film focuses on an FBI agent played by Jude Law, who's up in the Pacific Northwest back in the early 80s, and there's a bunch of robberies going on. Most people think it's like, oh, they're just a bunch of, regular criminals. But Law's character, Terry Husk, really believes that this is connected to a bigger thing. And this film starts to pull back layers on domestic terrorism, white nationalist domestic terrorists who are preparing a giant coup across the country. And this particular film really feels uncomfortably timely in 2024 in terms of, like, there is a rise in white nationalist, the militiamen, and there's a lot of different kinds of cells of people throughout this country that are becoming emboldened. And this film really takes a look at that and the potential ramifications, the ripple effects, and the effects of their actions. And this film, I think Kurzel does a really fine job of making, like, a very gritty, intense film that really works in those sequences where we do see robberies and shootouts, and one particular extended shootout, which has some pretty heavy stakes for the characters in the film. It's intense, it's engrossing, and there's big themes and ideas in this film that stem strongly from obsession. Whether it's the obsession with this way of life, this perspective, this message that this group of white nationalists have, versus, it's familiar, but we have this FBI agent who is obsessed with taking them down and getting so driven and reckless in terms of trying to figure stuff out. And Husk has his own demons and has his own things that he's at conflict with and struggling with. And I think Jude Law gives a fantastic performance that there's a weariness, there's a tiredness, there's an intensity and a bit of desperation in his character, and he plays all that so well, even rocking that like early 80s mustache. You have Nicholas Hoult, who I think Nicholas Hoult is a very talented actor, and I think some of his biggest films, like the X-Men films, I feel like he was a bit miscast. But here, he really works as this figure piece of this group, this movement. And he even comes into conflict with his own group, who he believes is all talk and no action. And Holt is the action. He's also very, outside of his worldview and perspective, he's also a very flawed man when it comes to his own marriage and his connections, and you see the ramifications of that too, and it adds layers. These are complex characters, and that's what makes it interesting. You have a Ty Sheridan, who's like the more of the by-the-book young police officer in this situation. You have Mark Maron, who pops up every so often as like this talking head, giving more context. Journey Smollett, I think, is very powerful in this film, and she's a little bit more that aggressive, a bit off the handle kind of investigator, and Jude Law's kind of in the middle between like Sheridan and Smollett and how they all fit together in this. This has familiar beats to it. It leans into some particular crime thriller investigator kinds of ideas and motifs and things that you see in a lot of these films. But I think the technical aspect, how this is put together, what Kurzel's able to do, the bigger thematic elements that are injected into this story because of the greater context of what these criminals are doing, and the performances really make this an above average, really effective, poignant, and emotional experience that has some heavy moments. It has very exciting moments all the way up to this big climax that feels very dangerous. And this cat and mouse game going on between Law and Holt is very effective. And at the end of the day, this is going to be one of those crime thrillers that flies under the radar, and hopefully some people pick it up. But those are my thoughts on The Order. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.